Coming up on Top 30, Puerto Rico is desperate for help in the wake of Hurricane Maria. The CEO of Equifax is stepping down after a massive hack. And a 30-year-old home run record is broken. It's all the news you need to know. This is Top 30. Republicans will meet behind closed doors this week to discuss the next steps in their efforts to repeal the Affordable Care Act. They already know that they don't have the votes. On Monday afternoon, Senator Susan Collins of Maine released a statement calling the Graham Cassidy bill deeply flawed and saying she would vote no because it would cause too many Americans to lose health insurance. And she joined two other Republican senators. John McCain criticized the bill for being too rushed and too partisan, and Rand Paul said it left too much of Obamacare in place. The Republican-controlled Senate can only afford to lose 2 votes. The announcement from Collins followed a preliminary assessment from the Congressional Budget Office saying the bill would cause, quote, millions of Americans to lose health coverage. During the bill's only public hearing on Monday, nearly 200 protesters were arrested as they crowded Senate hallways and cried shame at the bill's supporters. Many of them were removed in their wheelchairs. The president on Monday night singled out Senator John McCain for the bill's failure. He tweeted a video of him supporting repeal efforts in the past and called it a complete turn from years of talk. McCain's friend, though, and the bill's sponsor, Lindsey Graham, teared up on television last night as he defended the senator from attacks from the president and said that he has more than earned the right to do what he wants. For 7 years, Republicans have been saying that they would replace Barack Obama's health care law, but have been completely unable to come up with a replacement that's viable.
President Trump announced he'll head to storm-ravaged Puerto Rico next Tuesday, saying it was the earliest he could get there because of all the devastation. Hurricane Maria left behind flooding and mass damage, and power is still out to most of the island. Cell phone service is unavailable, and supplies are limited and running out. It's like Survivor Puerto Rico. That's how one person living there described the conditions on the island right now. FEMA says it's been sending airplanes and ships loaded with meals, water, and generators, but the relief can't get there fast enough. Puerto Rico's governor asked U.S. leaders for help, reminding them the people there are American citizens, and also warned there could be a mass exodus to the mainland if the crisis continues. And all eyes are on a dam located in the northwest corner of the island that suffered critical infrastructure failure after the Category 5 hurricane. It's already releasing water, and engineers are trying to figure out if the dam will hold up. The good news, some stores are starting to reopen, and Puerto Ricans say they have a tradition of neighbors helping neighbors, which is making it easier to deal with the long road ahead. This is what's trending. Equifax CEO Richard Smith resigned on Tuesday following a massive internet security breach affecting at least 143 million people. In a statement, Smith said it's in the best interest of Equifax to have new leadership to move the company forward. The swine flu has infected pigs at 2 Maryland county fairs. Last week, 7 people contracted the flu at the Charles County Fair, and now 11 pigs have tested positive for the swine flu at the Great Frederick Fair and have been quarantined. Coaches at some of the top colleges in the U.S., as well as both Nike and Adidas officials, were arrested Tuesday on charges of fraud and corruption. A 2-year probe by the FBI found that many recruiting practices were illegal and suggests players broke NCAA rules. We'll keep you updated as this story develops.
There were over 17,000 murders in the United States last year, an increase of over 8% from 2015. In other words, murders and violent crime in America are on the up. This is according to a new report. The FBI said this week that the rates had increased from the year before. It is the second year in a row that they have gone up. Total violent crimes were up over 4%. The FBI defines violent crimes as assault, rape, murder, and robbery. The Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, said of the report, quote, "We must confront and turn back the rising tide of violent crime." Some experts say that even with this news, crime rates are still at historic lows. The rates of violent crime and murder were higher in the mid-80s and the early 90s. The rate of violent crime is 18% lower than it was just 10 years ago. And there was some good news. Property crimes like burglary and car theft were down for the 14th straight year. Experts also think that based on mid-year numbers from 2017, murder rates might be down again this year. We will know for sure once the year has concluded and law enforcement agencies report their crime stats to the Justice Department.
A baseball record that stood for nearly 30 years was broken on Monday in dramatic fashion. New York Yankees slugger Aaron Judge entered the game just one homer away from tying a record set in 1987. That's when Oakland A's first-year player Mark McGwire hit 49 home runs, the most ever by a rookie. Judge tied the record in the third inning with a two-run shot, but wasn't done yet. He came to the plate in the seventh inning and blasted his 50th of the year, breaking the old mark. The Yankees commemorated the new record with a special tweet highlighting the achievement. And the Yankees may need to update this number. He still has several games to add to his total.
7-Up soft drinks in Mexicali were found to be laced with methamphetamine. The Attorney General of Justice of the state of Baja, California, said that the contaminated drinks have killed one person and made at least 7 others ill. Authorities claimed the soda has been removed from shelves, and more than 77,000 individual containers of 7-Up have been secured at the PepsiCo plant in Mexico. None of the 7-Up products sold in the United States were affected, but U.S. health officials in Arizona are warning travelers headed to the Mexicali region to remain vigilant and be wary, checking packaging and seals for signs of tampering. The symptoms can include vomiting, burning of the esophagus and stomach, fast or irregular heartbeat, and difficulty breathing. This is Top 30. We'll be back in a second. Let's go to the New York Stock Exchange for the Fox Business Minute with your friend and mine, Nicole Petalides.
In business, how much would it take for you to give up your seat on an overbooked flight? United Airlines will let passengers on its crowded flights take bids on their seats. It's all part of a test that's set to begin next month. This is all in response to United's infamous video of a passenger being dragged off one of its flights. Wearable technology is now coming to jean jackets. That's thanks to a partnership with Levi's and Google. The jacket can control your phone through touch sensors on the cuff and even give you directions from your phone. Companies say it's designed for bike commuters and it's selling for $350. And IHOP is launching some new pancake flavors. It's part of the company's National Pancake Day celebration. They'll be offering up latte flavors, including salted caramel, mocha, vanilla, and even the basic pumpkin spice. And yes, some also come with a small caffeine kick, so maybe no breakfast for dinner. And they'll be available nationwide through November 12th.
You've heard it before, and it's true. Kids are like sponges. And there's a new study about work ethic that shows even infants soak up what we say and do. Researchers at MIT studied more than 260 babies with an average age of 15 months and published the results in the journal Science. They had some babies watch an adult complete a task easily, and others watch the adult struggle and really have to work. The babies were given a different project, and researchers found the ones who saw an adult struggle were more persistent in trying to solve their problem. The study suggests infants can learn the value of effort after seeing just a couple examples of adults working hard. So parents, I get it. Sometimes we think we need to be perfect, but we don't. Our babies are building character when we keep it real.
A tiny 18-million-year-old worm species has survived by cloning itself instead of reproducing. By sequencing the DNA, scientists were able to confirm that this is one of the oldest known living asexual animals. Professor David Fitch called the discovery significant, saying it has been a long-standing mystery in biology how some asexual animals have survived for so many generations. Scientists were also surprised to find that the clones contained only a single pair of chromosomes, which is rare. Most similar species have at least 5 to 7 chromosomes. And this discovery could provide insight into how humans could someday create clones and avoid extinction. Which might upset some people. It's Adam and Eve, not Adam and another Adam. More hotels across the country are charging resort fees, and the practice of adding on these additional charges has caught the attention of investigators. The Wall Street Journal is reporting attorneys general in 46 states and the District of Columbia have been looking into the way that hotels advertise resort fees. In places like Hawaii and Las Vegas, these fees are common and are used to cover cabanas or spa access. But more hotels are tacking on these fees for things like Wi-Fi, gym access, or credit at the bar. The problem is the fees are not revealed up front and they are mandatory. It's also intensely irritating that any hotel charges for Wi-Fi anymore.
Now you'll finally be able to page Dr. Green Thumb because Northern Michigan University will be offering an undergraduate degree for people interested in, you guessed it, a career in the medical marijuana industry. According to the NMU website, the medicinal plant chemistry degree will include rigorous coursework in chemistry and biology with research and hands-on instrumental analysis built into the curriculum to prepare its graduates for a career in the cannabis industry. Ironically, marijuana is illegal in Michigan, so students will never work with it. Instead, they'll learn extraction techniques on other plants. Brandon Canfield, associate chemistry professor at NMU, told Top 30, "I think we are going to be providing a lot of well-trained and knowledgeable analytical chemists to the industry." The program begins this fall, and with California, Oregon, Washington, and Colorado having legalized marijuana, the timing couldn't be better. This is Top 30, and we'll be right back. In today's hometown stories from Fox 29 Philadelphia, Abington Hospital has a team of volunteer cuddlers to soothe newborn babies. The program was started as a way to ensure each baby in the neonatal intensive care unit gets the love and attention they deserve. A parent could have peace of mind if they couldn't be at the hospital. Their baby wouldn't just sit in a crib for hours on end. Volunteer cuddler Evelyn Mandel said, "It is so calming to give this kind of care to a baby. It brings down their stress level as well as mine." In our second story, 2 children from Monroe, North Carolina who battled cancer received special rides to the first day of class. Natalia James and Dakota Roseborough were given police escorts to signal their return to school after completing their treatments. Natalia's mom told WSOC, "When we first learned of her diagnosis, we were grounded. It just felt like the wind was kicked out of us. But when we knew that the community would come together and when we knew that we had that foundation, it was nothing but God's movement." For our final story, Roy Sakuma from Honolulu, Hawaii, has been teaching ukulele for nearly 50 years. He first picked up the instrument when he was 16 years old. It was his way to escape from his rough upbringing. Roy told Living 808, "It brought a lot of comfort to me because I was hurting so much. Every single day was a challenge." Now, Roy's the organizer of the world's largest annual ukulele festival.
CVS Pharmacy has become the first national retail chain to restrict how many painkillers doctors can give patients. CVS is the nation's largest drugstore. It manages the prescriptions of 90 million people, and it will limit opioid prescriptions to a 7-day supply for certain conditions in an effort to cut the skyrocketing addiction rate. And to give you an idea of how significant this 7-day restriction is, the average pill supply given by doctors in the US is around 18 days. That's according to a report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The CDC also says that 15,000 Americans died from prescription opioid overdoses in 2015. The chief medical officer for CVS says we have an epidemic on our hands, adding that if they reduce the amount of addiction, they'll reduce, quote, the amount of human suffering.
Rapper Eminem rose to stardom because of his unique sound and super personal lyrics, and you could soon own part of his music catalog. Producers who work with Eminem are selling part of their share of the rapper's catalog to a company, Royalty Flow. That company will then offer it to fans. That means stocks of Eminem's music will be sold on a stock exchange, just like Apple or Microsoft, and you could buy it. According to Rolling Stone, Eminem isn't involved in the deal and has no connection to the company. Data from the tracking service BuzzAngle lists Eminem as the 11th most streamed artist in 2017. So this deal gives you a chance to lose yourself in the music and make some money at the same time. Top 30, we'll be right back. According to Harvard Health, taking care of your skin doesn't have to be complicated. Clean it, protect it from the sun, and use creams or serums to treat flaws or signs of aging. And as we get older, we focus more attention on treating fine lines and wrinkles, but we don't have to spend a ton of money to do this. With that in mind, here is today's Top 30 deal. Accelerbrite's Bee Venom Serum is amazing. It's a natural alternative to Botox. The bee venom in the product fools the skin into thinking it's been stung without the pain, which causes the skin to produce collagen and elastin. This creates a tightening and smoothing effect. This bee venom retails for $208, but today you can buy it for just $39. That's an 81% discount. And you can get this right now at top30deals.com while they last.
There's an underwater jetpack that lets you swim faster than Michael Phelps, and it is pretty remarkable. It was inspired by Iron Man, not surprisingly, and it clocks out at a top speed of 6.25 miles per hour. That is a quarter mile faster than Phelps. Two Silicon Valley engineers with quite a lot of time on their hands designed the motorized jetpack, and of course when you mix water with electricity, it is dangerous, so building a watertight seal for the battery pack was the key to making it work. The propellers were stronger than engineer David Shulman expected, and when he tested the pack out, he said, "At times, it felt like it was going to pull my arms off." Shulman and his co-creator, Ryan Kung, estimate they spent about 60 hours and only $1,000 to build the jetpack. So if you're a fan of feeling like your arms are going to be pulled off, you can find out relatively inexpensively. We already know that online product reviews are not the most reliable. A fascinating new study gives a clue as to why. A paper published in the journal Psychological Science says that when consumers are researching a product's reviews online, they put quantity over quality. Researchers at Stanford University asked participants to choose between several phone cases based on fake online critiques. People tended to choose the ones with more reviews, even when the reviews for all of their choices were bad. The paper's authors studied over 15 million product reviews and said that is exactly the opposite of what you should do. When choosing between two products with negative online reviews, the one with fewer reviews is statistically more likely to be better than its ratings. But humans are seldom that logical or that well read on statistics. One expert said, quote, "If a lot of people have experience with a product, even if the experience isn't positive, more will follow." Hopefully this bad review of the way people use bad reviews will improve the way people use bad reviews.
Sam Rhodes returned from Iraq in 2005, a broken man. He'd been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and didn't know how to cope until he was introduced to equine therapy. He says working with horses helped him survive, and he wanted to share it with other veterans. According to the United States Department of Veteran Affairs, between 11 and 20% of soldiers returning from Afghanistan and Iraq suffer from the debilitating effects of PTSD. HuffPost reported that 56-year-old Rhodes said, "I spent 30 months in combat. It affected me more than most." Inspired by his own experience, Rhodes runs Warrior Outreach in Fortson, Georgia. The program helps both veterans who suffer from PTSD and their loved ones to teach them the basics of horse riding and care. Rhodes' nonprofit is an extension of himself and his experience, and he hopes it can teach people like himself how to bridge the gap between their traumas and their futures. An Indiana University freshman was left behind on a group tour, locked in a cave for 60 hours. 19-year-old Lucas Kavar went to Sullivan Cave in Indiana with the school's caving club and was left behind after getting separated from the group. He spent 6 to 8 hours yelling for help and told the Indiana Daily Student, "It took me a little while to wrangle my emotions and sort of approach things analytically, sensibly, to come up with a game plan to survive." Lucas made it through the nearly 3-day ordeal by licking water off the cave walls. His parents realized something was wrong when they texted him the next day and didn't hear back. 2 members of the club eventually realized he was missing, and Lucas was finally found. The club's president acknowledged the incident, saying, quote, "We had a failure in our leadership." At least they own their mistake. A teenage couple has an unlikely story about how they met. They both beat the same life-threatening illness. Jacob Jason and Grace Haddad met when they were toddlers. They were in the same hospital, being treated for the same rare disease. In 2004, both got liver transplants just 3 weeks apart. They kept in touch ever since, both attending a camp for kids who have had transplants. But this year was a little bit different. They went to the camp dance together. On Saturday, Grace was Jason's date to homecoming at his school in Ashburn, Virginia. He said, quote, "She's really the one person I know who's gone through the exact same things I have." Their night was so much more than a dance. It was a connection that'll last a lifetime.
That is it for today's Top 30. Here are some stories coming up that are worth knowing about. It costs manufacturers next to nothing to make bottled water, and it's earning them billions. We'll tell you how they do it. Volvo wants you to be able to get a car the same way you get a cell phone. We'll explain the company's new subscription plan. A new study says college fraternities may hurt your grades but boost your income after graduation. And if you think this house is fit for a queen, you're not far off. It is Beyonce and Jay-Z's new home, and it cost $26 million. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Like, follow, and subscribe to @Top30 TV and never miss a story. And we'll see you next time here on Top 30.